at that point because of the amount of pressure that I had on the line. So it made an easy target to be sawed through.
Keep going, Jerry. Keep going. Keep going.
As the fisherman fights to stay hooked, he has no idea how big his catch is. Jerry and his team managed to keep the taut fishing line intact.
Okay, we got the double. Yeah, he's giving it up. He's just floating there. He's just sitting there.
But now, deep into hour 13, Jerry's struggling to stay alert. Incredibly, the exhausted angler reels against the fish for another hour and 20 minutes. He still hasn't had a glimpse of his powerful opponent in the flesh. Then, in a sudden burst, an enormous sword slices through the water.
Holy guacamole, what a fish!
The team is stunned.
Oh, what a fish!
It's the biggest swordfish any of them have ever seen.
Keep going. We're almost to the nylon.
Its slashing weapon is close enough to touch.
Give me the gaff, Heather. Give me the gaff. Okay, give me the gaff. Give me the gaff. Holy guacamole!
That's when things were very exciting and yelling, and I got out of the chair, unbuckled myself from the fishing tackle, and grabbed the sword. Grabbing hold of a swordfish bill is extremely dangerous. In addition to flesh-cutting bony edges, swordfish bills are covered in septic bacteria. Jerry's ultimate catch is in reach. But the real battle against the swordfish and its deadly weapon has just begun. The fish swung the head and knocked me across the cockpit into the side.
Got it. Oh!
I just sat there and said, oh, I'm not going to try that again. Seeing it up close, the whopper billfish stretches longer than a surfboard.
He's big, all right.
Jerry thinks it may be a record breaker.
Let's get out of here.
But it's too large and dangerous to pull on board.
Yep, plugging it off.
The team decides to tow it to the nearest harbor. Steaming into their home port, Jerry's 50-year obsession is at stake. We came into the wharf with my flag flying that I bought in 1959 when I caught my first swordfish. And we proceeded with the weigh-in process. The catch stats are stunning. The swordfish weighs 813 pounds, stretching 12.8 feet long. It's a world record. To be able to actually land one of some size is a feat that very few worldwide big game anglers have accomplished.
14 hours and 20 minutes behind those controls is really a lot longer than I wanted to be there, but just great. Just mind-blowing.
One of the deadliest underwater weapons is literally shocking: electricity. Many fish can detect electric fields, but only a few can generate a powerful field of their own. And one is an apex predator. Tough to find and even tougher to catch, its lethal weapon is measured in voltage: the electric eel. For one daring angler, wrangling this electrifying beast is the ultimate Amazon adventure. May 15th, 2010, Amazon Basin, Peru. Deep in the rainforest, Anthony Giardinelli runs an expedition lodge. Anthony leads clients through the untamed jungle. But for him, one of the most extreme tests of skill is the hunt for the electric eel.
Randy, desata la soga. Vamos a agarrar este pez eléctrico.
Able to grow more than 6 feet long, weighing over 40 pounds. Surprisingly, electric eels aren't actually eels. They're part of the knifefish group, species named for their sleek blade-like bodies.
Yet in the jungle, these elusive, electrifying predators are more often mistaken for killer snakes.
If you're not looking really good, if you're not really close and you see it, you could easily confuse it for something like an anaconda.
But unlike anacondas, the electric eel kills with a shocking weapon.
The prey of the electric eel is zapped by the electricity, at which point the muscles and nerves all start firing and go into a contraction, which basically paralyzes the fish.
Electric eels electrify themselves, literally turning their bodies on and off. Inside the eel, flat disc-like cells called electrocytes carry electrical charges. To activate them, all it takes is the right conductor: salt. By controlling the levels of salt coursing through their muscles, electric eels work like living batteries. The bigger the beast, the more lethal the charge. The largest specimens can generate as much as 650 volts. Wielding their weapon like a taser, electric eels stun fish, amphibians, even birds, and small mammals. Once they've stunned their prey, they swallow it whole. And even more remarkable is what they can do to predators.
They can deliver shocks for an hour or more if they need to, so even if a crocodile or a large catfish or something else is trying to attack it and thinks it can wait it out, that's not going to work. The electric eel can defend itself for long periods of time.
Electric eels never deliberately attack people, yet accidental contact can kill.
The biggest danger from an electric eel is getting into the water, getting zapped, falling unconscious, and then drowning. There's a lot of drowning deaths in the Amazon are blamed on electric eels.
For Anthony and his co-worker Randy Kawachi, the thrill of the catch outweighs any danger. The men head towards a nearby tributary, a known electric eel habitat. Electric eels are notoriously difficult to detect. These ambush predators instinctively hide under river vegetation.
Aquí está buenas, aquí está buen. Acá va.
The team locates their target spot. But to position themselves, they have to hack their way with a machete. The anglers use two strategies. They lower the bait under dense plants, and they agitate the surface to attract attention. But hours go by with no bite. Anthony decides to change location, moving deeper into the tributary. To get there, the men must hike into the jungle. At a secluded stream, Anthony and Randy bait and tickle the surface with their fishing poles.
Randy, no hay nada por ahí. Nada todavía.
In a sudden rush, a fish bursts out of the leaves and grabs onto Anthony's hook.
Gigante, peje eléctrico.
It's a giant electric eel.
Tiene 2 metros, Randy. Randy, venga.
Que no se mete.
Come on.
The electric eel has an extraordinary fighting strategy.
The other fish swim away with the hook in their mouth going away from you. This was corkscrewing away with his head here pulling out, and it was just very strong.
Many fish can undulate their bodies, but this Amazon giant can actually contort itself like a rope.
When it found some trees that were still in the water, it would wrap around the trees and use that as leverage to keep pulling away. It felt literally like you're tugging with another rope.
With so much dense vegetation, the line could easily sever or tangle. Anthony has to reel in the catch as fast as possible. Swimming fast, the eel changes direction. Anthony struggles to keep the writhing fish hooked and follow it on the muddy ground. To ward off an electric charge, the angler wears protective rubber waders. But in the slippery mud, he must be careful. He's only 5 feet from the agitated eel. As the fight continues, if Anthony falls, he could get zapped by 600 volts.
Just the sheer force of it pulling me into the small channel. I was about to fall in with the eel.
Struggling against the fish's corkscrew pull, the fisherman manages to secure better leverage on drier land. Anthony uses all of his energy to reel the beast up and out of the water. On the bank at last, it's one of the largest electric eels Anthony's ever seen. The whopper knifefish measures 6 feet, 3 inches long, weighing over 30 pounds. Anthony wants to release the catch back into the main river, but it's a daunting challenge. Any touch could trigger an electric shock. A protective bag must cover the fish at all times. As a further precaution, the men hang the eel from a stick. Watching the enormous eel slide back into its Amazon lair, Anthony's thrilled.
It was probably one of the most sensational fights I've ever had.
In a fearful legacy of armed fish, one of the most ancient is a 300-million-year-old shark, the Stethocyanthus. This spiked fin may have been a terrifying ramming and thrashing device. Today, another fearsome shark is the ocean's ultimate kickboxer, the thresher. Its deadly weapon? Blunt trauma.
Come on, Steve!
But one tournament team is determined to battle a thresher shark in the flesh in an extreme showdown of man versus sea beast. September 9th, 2006, Portland, Maine. Steve York joins his friends Mike and Bob Soucy for the 2-day Casco Bay Shark Tournament. On the tournament's first day, Mike and Bob spotted a huge thresher shark in the waters. Now, with less than a day remaining in the competition, they're back out on a mission.
So it's pretty cool, actually quite amazing to target a shark and then go out and actually find. It was pretty amazing because the thresher sharks are very rare up here.
Massive and deadly, the thresher shark can grow as long as 20 feet, weighing up to 750 pounds. But the thresher's most remarkable feature is a tail as long as its entire body.
A thresher shark looks like a typical shark that someone came and pinched the tail and then pulled it out.
A thresher shark's tail is powered by muscle and flexible cartilage. Against both predator and prey, it's an assault weapon as strong as a club.
They can crack the tail and try to stun or kill the prey, at which point they can come back and eat the prey with ease.
Oh, he's pissed.
For anglers, thresher tails can make these powerful sharks impossible to catch.
If you don't keep constant pressure and keep that line tight, he can get his tail around the line and break you off that way with the power of that tail. Whoa. Oh my God.
The Casco Shark Tournament team is determined. On board, Mike Soucy throws ripe chum into the water. Then there's a tug.
Come on, Steve, let's go. Let's get the lines in. Come on, let's go.
The team's smallest fishing rod springs to life.
All right, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Get the belt
Steve,
on,
you're up.
Steve.
Get the belt on, get the belt on.
Steve grabs the rod in his fight belt. Immediately, the angler fears he's in trouble. The gear is no match for the beast.
I was not prepared for how much line they took and how powerful. Using the rod that we had for that shark was kind of small for shark fishing, definitely for a shark that size.
Steve can only guess what kind of shark he's hooked. Blue sharks are the most common off the Maine coast. Yet the catch isn't behaving like a typical deep diving blue. It takes off in a straight run.
Reel, Steve, reel, reel!
Then, 300 yards from the boat, a sudden splash reveals just how big the beast is.
Look at that fish!
The water twice. With less than 9 hours left in the tournament, the team thinks they may have hooked the winning shark. But now, the Titanic thresher is headed directly towards them.
Coming right at the boat, Bobby. Let me back down.
The shark came right at the boat, started to go down a little bit, and then slammed the side of the boat with his tail, and just a loud whack, and then it went under the boat. And I'll never forget Mikey's expression.
That was a close one. I think we need a bigger boat.
Two and a half hours into the fight, there's a problem. The bait is sliding up the line.
Bait on the line, bait on the line. Steve, we got to get the bait off that line. All right.
Bobbing at the surface, it's attracting other sharks. If a hungry shark bites through the line, the catch is lost.
Brian.
The team needs to cut the bait loose with a knife. One wrong move, and they'll lose the giant thresher and the tournament. With only 5.5 hours left in Maine's Casco Shark Tournament, Steve York and his two-member team have a giant thresher hooked. It could win the contest. But now, as other sharks move in, the anglers have to cut their bait loose without severing the line.
When we finally got him close enough, Mike was able to reach onto the fish and actually cut the fish away from the line, very, very gingerly, of course.
Reel, reel!
The battle's far from over. Incredibly, Steve fights the shark for 2.5 more hours.
Keep it going, come on.
It's grueling, but the fisherman refuses to give up.
Come on, Steve, reel. Come on, keep it going.
At last, the thresher shark begins to tire. Steve manages to get the monster fish near the boat. He can't believe his eyes.
I'd never seen one until that day, so it really gets your attention when you see it coming out of the water so big.
Look out, get the gap.
It's far too big to bring on board.
Double line,
The
let's
team
go.
must tie the beast to the side. As they scramble to lasso it, the thresher unleashes its weapon.
It's just slamming the side of the boat with its tail.
With less than 3 hours to the tournament weigh-in, the anglers manage to tie a second line. At the weigh-in, the team's hunch was right. It's the Casco tournament's winning shark. The thresher measures 17 feet long, weighing a whopping 628 pounds, a Maine state record.
When we get to the scales and found out how much it really weighed, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I just wasn't prepared for that. It was great.
A biologist on site takes measurements and collects organ samples, gathering valuable data to help fisheries study thresher populations. Heavily regulated tournament catches are few and far between. The real threat to sharks worldwide is a practice known as finning.
You catch a shark, you cut off the fins, the shark may be dead or alive, it doesn't always matter. And then you keep the fins, and they command a very high price in certain markets for shark fin soup. The rest of the shark is usually not very valuable, relatively speaking, and is usually just dumped right back overboard as garbage.
Efforts to stop finning are helping preserve the thresher and other shark species, protecting some of the planet's most amazing weapon-wielding predators. Among the ocean's armed hunters is an ancient beast with a venomous whip. The stingray. One daring angler is determined to battle this poisonous beast from shore. even if it means risking his life. September 6, 2009, Mossel Bay, South Africa. Jacques Duploy and his friend Peter Nortje are devoted rock and surf fishermen. The treacherous technique involves hooking a catch from shore and wrestling it in the rocky surf. For Jacques and Peter, the ultimate conquest is a giant stingray.
If you compare the stingray and its flattish body with, for instance, a shark with its more streamlined body, I say that the stingray might not be as fast, but it's got the power and the torque to make up for it.
Lethal ocean flyers, hunting stingrays skim the sandy floor, sucking up prey with stealthy speed. But don't let their grace fool you. These prehistoric shark cousins are some of the ocean's most powerful behemoths. One of the biggest is the short-tailed stingray.
It can get up to 7 feet across, 14 feet long, and weigh up to 800 pounds. And it's arguably one of the largest stingrays on the planet.
To avoid predators, the stingray burrows into sand. Yet when camouflage fails, it whips out an agonizing weapon, a venomous barb called a sting.
There are grooves running along the base of the sting, and in these grooves are venom glands. The sting normally is covered with skin, so you don't always see the serrations, but they're there. When it is attacked, the stingray will drive the sting into the attacker. The serrations open up the wound, the venom glands get ripped open, and poison goes into the wound.
Lashing out its whip-like tail, a stingray injects a protein-based toxin. The venom attacks the nerves, heart, and circulation. The venom itself isn't lethal, but an attacker pays a painful price.
The primary symptom is extreme pain. It also has consequences in that it can affect the heart rate, the blood pressure of the victim. That's short-term, cause nausea, vomiting, and a lot of other symptoms.
To humans, the stingray's most dangerous weapon is the barb itself. The pointed tip can rip through organs and arteries, causing instant death. Now, on shore, Jacques and Peter set up their fishing gear.
Peter, I'm going down to cast. I'll see you now, eh?
Okay.
One of the biggest rock and surf challenges is the cast.
We have to make a cast of a minimum of 100 meters to allow us to get into the zone where fish is feeding.
The men set their rods and scan the water, manning their lines in the sweltering South African heat.
Now it's quiet now. I hope we get another pickup.
It's very quiet.
Then, one of the rods gets a tug. Jacques' reel peels out line in the blur. The angler jumps up and grabs hold.
Taking a lot of line, eh?
He can't see what he's hooked, but he can feel its power.
I was fighting it as hard as I could. I know I was stretching my tackle to the limit, and I really wanted to land this one.
The fish makes a sudden right turn.
Oh no, it's going to the reef now. It's going to the reef, Jock. We stop it before it's in the reef.
It's headed fast, straight towards a shoreline reef. It's a rock and surf angler's worst nightmare.
Once the fish have reached that reef, it will swim over it and dive down, and it will sever that front part of your line on the reefs.
Jacques stops the spooling line at 650 feet. He hopes a tight leash will keep the fish from swimming over the reef. But Jacques miscalculates.
Jock, there's it.
Where is it? Where?
I see a tail. I see it there, but it's nothing I can do. It's a huge tail. I can see it. I can see it's on the reef. It's already on the reef.
It's a massive short-tailed stingray. Jacques tries to reel the fish into deeper water.
Reef, but it's too heavy. I'm just gonna hold it there.
Then he gets a stroke of luck.
3 or 4 waves came through, and that force of the waves pushed the fish off the reef, and it was on our side of the reef again.
The angler keeps tension on the line, fighting pain in his arms.
Peter, it's getting closer to the side. Can you run down and grab the leader? It's coming, eh?
With a strong yank, Jacques gets the stingray close to him. Yet not close enough.
I didn't have a choice. I had to go down closer to the rocks to avoid the line or the leader being snagged in the rocks right in front of us. When I was running over that rocks, I had to be careful.
Jacques reaches the ray. Up close, it's far bigger than the fisherman expected.
Just be careful. It's huge.
It's coming, Doc. It's coming.
Be careful of the sting, eh?
Oh, it's huge.
Harder even than reeling it in, the real challenge is landing it. Jacques' friend Peter is ready to help wrangle the massive sea beast. But the stingray's too huge to lift. Their only hope is to catch the perfect wave.
Just wait for the right wave to pull it up. Just wait.
The longer Jacques and Peter wait, the more they're in danger.
Pull it.
The catch could strike back with a stabbing tail. With a giant short-tailed stingray corralled in a South African reef, Jacques Deploy and his friend Peter Norja try once again to wrestle the fish ashore. At all times, they keep the ray's lethal weapon in sight. Gathering their strength, riding the waves,
Here comes a big wave.
the men manage to get the stingray to shore.
Pull it.
Wow, it's huge, eh? It's a beautiful fish, huh? Your first one.
It's my first one.
At first we were in awe. We look at this fish because we didn't realize it was this big while fighting it. We knew it was a big fish, but we haven't seen one like this before, of this size.
Jacques wants to release the fish safely. He knows time is critical. The men take fast measurements. The giant ray stretches over 6.5 feet.
0.1 meter.
To calculate weight, the anglers submit measurements via text message to a fish database. Minutes later, the results are astonishing.
Look. Yes, nice fish, Jacques. Well done. Well done.
The ray weighs 575.4 pounds. It's the largest stingray ever caught in South Africa. Working quickly, Jacques and Peter use the waves to nudge the mammoth beast back into the Indian Ocean. Short-tailed stingrays aren't officially endangered, but catch and release helps protect their populations for future encounters of man versus whopper, whip-tailed ray. Among weapon-wielding sea beasts, one extinct species looked truly petrifying. Helicoprion. This 300-million-year-old monster may have used its jaw like a tooth-covered lasso. Today, there's another jaw-dropping fish on the prowl. Combine shark, stingray, and swordfish into one astounding hunter, and it can only be the sawfish. This bizarre behemoth sports one of the ocean's strangest-looking weapons. But as sawfish fight for species survival, one extreme catch turns into a rescue mission. May 26, 2009, Fort Myers, Florida. Eddie Alsop, his wife Jessica, and friend Matt McCarran are fanatic amateur anglers. They usually catch local fish like tarpon, but today they're about to encounter an elusive, ancient beast.
I've been here my entire life. I've known lots of people that go fishing, and there's only a handful of people that ever have seen a sawfish.
Meet a mega predator that dates back 50 million years. The biggest sawfish can stretch longer than 20 feet, weighing as much as a great white shark, over 2 tons. A bizarre blend of different species, sawfish are some of the most unique hunters on the planet.
Technically, they're actually rays, like stingrays, but they look more like sharks or a flattened shark, except that the snout has been drawn out into a saw shape with teeth running up and down the side. Basically, it looks like a giant shark with a chainsaw attached to it.
Surprisingly, this striking chainsaw blade works as both a weapon and an antenna. The blade is called a rostrum, and these tooth-like structures are in large scales known as dermal denticles. The entire rostrum is actually covered with dermal denticles and sensors called electroreceptors. The receptors pick up signals from living prey. Once a sawfish senses prey, it goes in for the kill.
It can use the saw to go through a school of fish and slash it back and forth, and then it can go back and eat any of the fish that it may have killed or injured.
Sawfish get so big, they have few predators.